Hello, everybody! Welcome back to The Hole in the World, an actual play set in the world of Monte Cook Games' Invisible Sun RPG. I am, as always, your GM and producer, Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. I use he, him pronouns, and I am joined today, once again, by my lovely, fantastic cast. Starting off in the top left, or rather in the middle here, Marcy, if you want to go ahead and intro for yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Marcy, aka Experimental Madness, which is still the username I go by most places around the internet. I'm still the resident cryptid on Twitter, and I'm very excited to be back playing a little bit of Invisible Sun. You'll notice I'm not really playing anybody that I've played previously. I'm borrowing an NPC to play Slip and Jack. The bizarre, gallant apostate who disgorges creatures.
Love it. So with that, we're gonna move down the overlay here. And Bill, if you would like to go ahead and tell us who your character is.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill, also known as Ghost Spike on Discord, and I am playing not Maurice, but the character that once was Maurice, the Spider Prince, a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers, who turns tales into reality with a beast.
Excellent. Moving over to the other side of the overlay, Hopper, if you'd like to give us your introduction.
I guess. What's up? I'm Hopper, your resident dumpster fire. My pronouns are they, them, as is my characters. But if you would like to find me on the internet, I'm a pro arborist and pro GM based out of Brooklyn, New York. And you can find me under, for bad hot takes and questionable commentary, under Fail Deadly. That is with a 3 instead of an E. And if you'd like to see the works I create and produce, you can find me under the Legend Tree. And tonight I will be returning as Okras.
Excellent. And finally, rounding out this motley crew once again, Marissa, if you'd give us your introduction.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Marissa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a book editor and occasional TTRPG editor, also known as Critical Kitten, with various punctuation here and there on the internet. And I am returning as the young Vancian scientist and willowy aristocrat turned battle strategist in the war, Magister Allegra Von Hollingsworth, the Rook, who is an aromatic stoic of the Order of the Vance, who claims dominion over ideas.
Awesome. Guys, just to give you guys a heads up, this is going to be a one-shot today, a little bit different from our usual business. The reason is just because we've got a lot of travel booked through October. So what we are going to do is we're going to have this one-shot, and then we're going to resume our campaign proper on October 9th. But in the meantime, the really cool thing that we're going to be doing is when we have some time and when schedules permit, we're going to be pre-recording some side scenes and just streaming them here on Twitch. And whoever's available will be engaging with you guys and making sure that we can ooh and ah along with you at that point. They're probably going to be relatively short episodes, but they're going to be fun. So look forward to that. But having said all that, I think it's time for us to get once again back into the actuality with kind of a recap of what's been going on, because a lot has been going on. I just need to find the one thing I usually do, which is to say our soundtrack. So, a lot has transpired. When last we left our Visley, they had just gotten the counsel and the blessing of the Gold Sun Warden, Lady Shima, to follow the trail of the Vespertine agents infiltrating her realm. After reaching a small port not far from the river, Gavriel, Kiri, and Twig quickly noticed that their friend Maurice was missing. A panicked Duncan bounded across the port, following a scent and leading the Visley to what appeared to be a younger, different Maurice Webb. They quickly learned that this Maurice was a modality, an alternate double of their Maurice who was unique to the Gold Sun. Moreover, they learned that not all of them had their own counterparts in this realm. Forced to accept the help of this doppelganger, the four Vizsla navigated the river towards the Gold Sun's Eldebrin encampment, with Gavriel, Kiri, and Twig left to wonder what became of their Maurice. In the middle of the river journey, Twig had a startling encounter with a persona hidden deep inside their mind. Kestrel, an ancient Logivore with considerable power, revealed to them that they and Okras were in fact two conceptual spirits forced into the body of the Goetic by King Nine. This revelation and Kestrel's offer of help were met with suspicion, which prompted that persona to attempt to eat Twig's memory of the conversation. Failing in that attempt, we ended with Twig being consoled by Gav and Kiri, resolute in their determination to face down the Vespertine and this new threat. But let's jump back in time just a bit and change the music. Maurice, as you brought up the rear of the marching order walking towards port, you encountered an inconspicuous sight. The filaments of a wide spiderweb stretching across your path. A piece of it lodged on the top of Duncan's collar. Stopping to examine and adjust it, you found yourself suddenly bound and wrapped in the strands. Blinded, with your movement and your breathing restricted, you felt a sudden lurch as your center of gravity shifted and your body teleported through reality in a way not dissimilar from when you found yourself translated into the war report. Vast, dark shapes move past your gauzy vision. One massive 8-legged shape in particular, all shadow save for 17 pinpoints of burning light protruding from its head, growing closer to you. The shadows in the gauze shift. The massive shape seems to shrink and to bend and twist. Light pierces the strands as you feel the bindings torn from your mouth and your eyes. I received your message, followed by a word that you cannot help but realize is your true name. You find yourself in a beautiful Regency-style drawing room mixed with Art Deco accents of gold and silver. A very well-appointed older man is examining you from a high-backed chair. Describe this man for me.
This is the king of all Truespiders. Hi, dog. Let's help remind the audience, what are the traits of normal Truespiders? They have got the eyes and the forehead?
They've got typically the eyes and the forehead, and you realize there is some variance here because when the last person that you encountered, who was a Truespider, Rajothamos, did not have any basically superfluous arms. However, this figure, this person is unique in that they have just 2 eyes, and they have this very well-appointed attire, which you can describe. But you get the sense from looking at them that all of this is done for your benefit.
Easily like 2.5 times the size of a normal human, very imposing. And Maurice, looking at the kind of fine military cut of the uniform that he's wearing, notices that this mirrors what he saw a vision of himself wearing, but much more ostentatious, much more crisp. And I think Maurice is putting together that perhaps that this is his father making fun of him. And he composes himself for a moment and says, with deep irony and a smile, "You look exactly as how I remember you. which is not at all. Hey, Dad.
And I think there is this stern expression on his face as he's looking at you. And then there is a slight kind of wry smile as you kind of seem to have caught him off guard a bit. Oh. You don't remember me at all.
Whatever I did it good or bad. I did it completely.
Now, for the sake of everybody watching and for my sake, can you recall and remind me what was the contents of the message that you sent to this figure?
The message, it was a package, not so much a message. It was a exquisitely tailored, very expensive in terms of expertise and material suit made out of Truespider silk that Maurice had made for him as a favor, as a boon granted by the angels in the day side of the Silver Sun. And upon wearing it and getting a signal from Duncan that it was bad, that wearing the suit was bad and he didn't like it, Maurice instead packaged it very nicely and sent it with a courier, just with his name, to be delivered to the Spider King.
And as you kind of recall this moment, I think that just seemingly almost from nowhere, he seems to kind of pull out this suit, grasping it by the lapels. And you can see there's a little kind of trace of magic that seems to basically kind of like move between his fingers and the silk of the suit itself. And you realize now why Duncan had responded so strongly and vehemently to seeing it. Is you realize almost reflexively, almost innately, without even being aware of it, his magic is a part of it. It's essentially kind of touching it. And you realize that this suit was a lure, that eventually it was always bound to find its way to you. Oh, you don't like my gifts anymore?
Oh, no, I repurposed it. I wanted to show you who I am now. What do you think?
He ignores the question, looking at you pointedly. And who are you exactly now? I have some idea of who you used to be.
I've been getting a better idea of that as well. But ultimately, who I am now is who I choose to be. So this is a peace offering, or maybe just an excuse to meet, clear the air, reestablish a relationship. I think you know more than I do about a great many things that I've intentionally forgotten. Maybe you don't like those things. Maybe you do. Maybe you're indifferent. But I'm here. And here I am.
He leans back in the chair and just kind of assesses you. I'd like you to make me an interaction roll.
Sure. I'm going to spend 3 because I can. That's a 6 all day.
Okay. He's just kind of, I think, drinking in this. You don't know, as you're kind of looking at him, what his expression is inscrutable. Partly because of this kind of illusion, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Am I still bound?
You are. You, I think there is your legs and your arms are still bound to your sides, not uncomfortably, not overly tightly, but he has sat you into a chair not unlike the one in which he is seated, but at the same time you get the sense that maybe that's an illusion too.
Mm-hmm. So if I can look around, see, is there anyone else here or not beyond the bounds of this illusion?
Make me a perception roll.
Sure. I'll also spend 3 on that.
Okay.
That's an 11.
As you kind of look around, you realize very quickly that I would say even as you kind of like think your way past the illusion, you realize that you are sitting in the middle of a massive web. And whatever this drawing room is, like it's a paper thin, but very finely, very meticulously crafted illusion. But in this web, in this massive structure, it is not unlike a house. And in your surroundings, it has that almost similar kind of drawing room feel to it. It's, component furniture and the components of it and the edifices all kind of made of this unbreakable silk. And in one corner in particular, there is what seemed to be kind of like almost like this repository. In the illusion, it looks like a normal closet, but outside of it, you realize it's almost like a silken sack woven into one of the walls. And he looks at you and assesses you, but for all intents and purposes, you are alone in this room. And he looks at you and he just kind of very leisurely walks to the closet in this illusion, opens the door, and seems to kind of search for something. And almost idly, as he is searching and looking for whatever he's seeking, he reaches a hand back, points, and the bindings have left you. You are free to move and to basically stand as needed. You don't know how far you could get without him noticing, however.
I stand up, stretch, shake it out, and I kind of start ambling towards where he went over to the closet.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like that moment where as you're kind of like moving closer towards him, he turns and pivots, and there is in his hands a very ornate and elegant box. And he walks back towards the high-backed chair and puts on basically a side table this box and opens it. And inside of it is a jar of some sort of like viscous liquid. And he looks at you and says, "The curiosity must be killing."
Not really.
Wouldn't you?
I was actually thinking about if you could get me back to my friends the same way you took me away from them. I mean, I'm not in a rush, but they worry.
I could. Very easily. Just as easily as I could devour you whole. But wouldn't
you won't.
Wouldn't you rather know who you used to be? And he basically holds the jar aloft.
Where did you get that?
Well, I have my sources.
Doesn't seem like the kind of thing that I would give to you. So cui bono. I think I'm fine working on this Maurice. That Maurice, the Spider Prince, he can stay there.
Well. And then he reaches back into this ornate box and he pulls a second section. and reaches in, watching your face in particular, and he pulls out into his other hand what you recognize as it seems to struggle and to resist and pull against his grasp, a seed of truth.
Maurice's reaction is the same as Bill's reaction on stream just now. Just the fucking eyes.
And he looks at you, and then he shakes the jar just a little bit.
Oh, so you're bribing me? I'm curious, was this always a parenting technique of yours?
And the smile just grows wider. I'm making you an offer.
I'll state it plain. I get a seed of truth for knowing who I used to be.
You get a seed of truth for proving that you are my son.
So proving to me or proving to you?
Prove to me. If you can.
Maurice puts out both hands.
And he places the jar into them. Don't spill a drop. And he leans back into the high-backed chair, holding the seed, it vibrating in his palm, and yet at rest he doesn't seem to mind or to pay attention to it.
Maurice, making eye contact, like, I got this, sets down the jar, and, like, loudly and awkwardly scoots the chair across the ground, making, like, a horrible noise until it's between him and the Spider King, and backs up and says, how about we put the seed there? And he picks up the jar.
And he looks at you with the widest grin. And as you see, he kind of tosses it between his hands. And as he tosses it, a filament cage of spider strands encircle it as it seems to bounce around this kind of like cylindrical kind of container. And he kind of cinches it and then places it where you've outlined.
So, and it's out of that spider cage.
It is in the spider, in this kind of like it's out of the box. It's out of his grasp, but it is very much in between the strands, almost like in the shape of an hourglass.
So Maurice regards this very intently, and as he unscrews the jar open, he says, remove the cage from the seed and onto me, and then looks up at the Spider King. Good trade. And pops it open.
Okay. And are you imbibing this solution?
I smell it.
Something that just smells vaguely familiar about it.
What's the consistency of it?
I will say it's viscous. It's like an olive oil consistency, but it has this deep blue color to it. A cerulean.
Down the hatch.
All right. As you imbibe this solution, this whatever it is, there is a moment where nothing happened at first. And you, I think, look expectantly at the spider, the true spider who's looking back at you, and with a wry smirk on his face. You're just wondering, is this it? And as you think that, it kind of blows you back. Not just in your seat, but through time. And you find yourself in the days just after the events of the Battle of Upper Taverswood, the Spider Prince plotting a rebellion. But strangely enough, at the same time, simultaneously, you sense other people outside of your awareness and your vision, and how, but inextricably linked to you, as if by a spider webbing thread. And we're going to let some of them introduce where they are in the final days of the war, and what, in the aftermath of the Battle of Upper Taverswood, and what message they get from you. Starting with Okras.
Well, shit. That's a lot of responsibility. I think in the final days of the war that we're kind of I think we see Okras with the division that the remainder of that division, the left, shit.
God, I'm trying to.
What do we do? Leftovers? It's been like, when was the war report? That was like a year ago, right?
Yeah.
That we played it. Oh God. But yeah, the division that Okras kind of was given, reluctantly, given charge of, the last gasp.
Yeah, that was it.
There it is. That just popped fully formed into my head. And their whole thing was last ditch efforts and reserves for losing battles, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think we see something similar to this, like the aftermath of what was a fight that was lost, and Okras in the last gasp showed up. And it's not about winning. It's about reducing it's about limiting the bleeding. It's about damage mitigation. So, and that's kind of where we're at in this war. It's really attrition.
Absolutely. I think in this kind of this state as well, you are kind of working hand in hand with the only other remaining member of the last gasp that you've really trusted. And one of the things, like Ethereal Bob has always been kind of like working aside you, this kind of weaver who weaves together the aggregates of freedom into everything that she does. But at the same time, the things that have been kind of like transpiring lately, people are afraid to leave their homes. They are, the streets are barren, and walking them are what previously you knew to be these kind of Erebast, these enemy combatants that had, basically been opposing you. Now they walk the streets unopposed, and yet somehow they have changed. These kind of massive helmets that they wear have grown more ostentatious. The garb in which they are dressed becomes more human. Their forms even become more humanoid. And if you were to look through the eyes of Twig or any of your compatriots in this in the present day, you would recognize members of the Thaw walking.
Mm-hmm. That tracks.
And let me ask you, where do you guys make your base of operations? Where are you when a message arrives for you from the Spider Prince?
Ooh, I think it's an Allegra question as well. I'm inclined for something that is largely ruined or destroyed. I think it would appeal to Okras's sensibilities. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like, maybe there is a section of the city that's largely destroyed, and is there like a building that's like 3, maybe 4 stories. It had other buildings around it at some point that have long since collapsed and been reduced to rubble. But for whatever reason, this has been fortified. There's now my brain is just touching on the real life house in Leningrad, Stalingrad. That basically I'm trying to think of the name of it, but absolutely wild story. Look that up. Allegra, do you have any, or Marissa, do you have any additions to that?
Well, I mean, I guess the question it would prompt for me is sort of because we were pulled out of the Battle of Upper Taborswood at like a very critical moment by the Spider Prince. So do we know at this point, like, what happened at the end? Did Upper Taborswood cease to exist as far as we're concerned? Do we know it's there? It's just a ruin?
You know it's there. It's just an utter ruin. And, for the longest time, I mean, I think that parts of it are kind of radioactive with the energy of hate cysts as well. But you know that you were teleported from the major cathedral, not to like a pretty, I'd say probably a half a mile away a while ago. I will say at this point, it's been probably either days or weeks since the battle has transpired.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like something ruined makes sense. Maybe something that's like right on the border of kind of what was Upper Taborswood and now Lower Taborswood, connected to kind of the rest of civilization that hasn't been destroyed. But I mean, I feel like, speaking for Allegra's part anyway, there's like a kind of connection to what happened in that area. And I feel like she wouldn't want to venture too far from it, at least not in like the immediate days preceding the battle.
I will say that you do have access to your mind palace as well. So when you need to kind of get away from the ruined expanse, you are able to kind of like traverse into this artifact where you've stored a lot of your accoutrement and your personal memories. Or at least I think it's actually the family mind palace at this point, isn't it?
I think so. Well, at least I know that Adrian Von Hollingsworth can enter it at will, which is annoying.
But yeah, so that is kind of like the kind of like understanding of this area. Are you working in tandem? And also, just for the sake of everybody watching, I'd love it if you guys introduce your characters, especially if you're working together. Like, what does this look like? Who do we see?
Do we care who goes first?
No, go ahead. Actually, let's start with Okras.
So I think I'm kind of picturing we've got this fortified building, and I think something tells me that Allegra, with all the Raven motifs, might go high, find herself from a strategic point of view, where I imagine that Okras we probably see them speaking with Ethereal Bow and some of the other ragged remnants of the last gasp in the basement area, which has been pretty heavily fortified with magic. I imagine the whole area has been warded really effectively. The structure probably would fall apart if it wasn't for magic itself. Mm-hmm. You see Okras, they're not especially tall. They're 5'7", 5'8". They've got like these piercing green, fiery green eyes, and this flaming reddish orange hair. They're wearing a like kind of patched, battered, torn, repaired many times over field jacket, and a like kind of a armor underneath that, and a mask covering, half mask covering the lower portion of their face. You can kind of see some nasty scarring. And for those of us, some of you may remember that they have some pretty gnarly scars in this iteration of the body. And I think at this point, it's kind of, they look implacable. Like if looking at them, you would not think that this is a losing war. This is just, it is what it is. And this is the trajectory that was always to be expected.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as this is kind of going on, like, I'm assuming you're kind of like the last gasp is kind of like almost like working separately from Allegra. Allegra, what does this look like? Who do we see? What is the current state of everything as we kind of like the camera pans over to where you are in this area?
Yeah, I think true to form, I think Allegra is in a very high place, something like a cliff or, a sort of lookout, a place where, there is a lot of vantage points to be had. I think she spends a lot of time, almost like her secret soul, the tower, watching, looking, almost as though, gazing at this destroyed expanse of Upper Taverswood, as though she could manifest it into being whole again. But no matter how long she looks, no matter how long she watches, it always remains the kind of crumbling remnants of this battle that it has been since they were fighting it. There's, I think, a pragmatic bitterness that has settled into Allegra's demeanor, a coldness, kind of like when you touch ice for too long and your fingers start to freeze to it. It almost starts to burn. You can almost believe that it burns, and yet it's just so cold that that's the feeling it gives you. But at the same time, there's a certitude. There's a kind of having gone through conflict-ness to her. I think people can't quite put their finger on what it is. But there's been a change that's come over Allegra, even since these last days, since the battle really reached its climax. I think she has been spending a lot of time in her mind palace, and occasionally you catch glimpses of her working with what seems to be a lot of machinery, bottles and various types of equipment. It's not always clear what she's doing or what she's doing with it, but she seems to have really put her energies into something that looks like a project, something that you can guess probably has something to do with the end of the war, what she's just experienced. But, she gets kind of, no one's really been brave enough to ask her about it, shall we say. As far as how she looks, she is no longer the well-coiffed aristocrat that sort of she was even at the beginning of this encounter. I mean, there's still very much a calculated look in her eyes, but there's also sort of a wildness behind it, a directed anger. She has long dark hair in which a gilded raven, Sophanox, roosts, bright blue eyes. She often wears what, for lack of a better word, can be called a battle dress, which has definitely seen better days, but you notice that she hasn't taken it off since the end of the war. So she really is still wearing what she was wearing that day. And I think she's been very quiet. I mean, Allegra was not talkative at the best of times, but I think you've noticed she's sort of retreated into herself even a little bit more than you all might remember.
Excellent. Good to know.
I think it's very funny that the two ways that we described it are also very indicative of the ideologies of our character. Whereas technically the war has ended, but I'm just like, nah, we're still fighting it. And then Allegra's like, yeah, since the war ended. Sorry, I thought that was cool.
When you're beaten.
Yeah.
So before we get to back to our kind of like newest addition to the party, would you go ahead and make me a perception roll? As we're working into the night in your memory palace. I would like you to go ahead and make me a perception roll.
Sure. That's a 6.
Okay. So you do not see as the claws grip you around your shoulders, and you feel them sink, a pair of needle-like teeth sink into the back of your head. Before we kind of rejoin you there, Slipping Jack, where are you right now? Marcy, can you describe and introduce your character for me?
Yeah, as soon as I get over the shock of what just happened there, no big deal. Jack, I think, is interesting. He is enjoying the atmosphere of the city, in so much that he is a little removed from it always. They seem to be appearing in like a puff of cascading darkness, only to reappear on a rooftop somewhere, then in an alleyway, always watching the passing so-called Arabast. They have different ideas. They're observing, they're making deals with the desperate, and there are more desperate every single day now in the city, which is good for business, because they deal in information. And I think he's been traversing the various neighborhoods, typically mostly when it's darker outside, as they tend to keep to the shadows, the smaller byways of the city. And I think they take on a different appearance every time they disperse into those smaller shadows, and reappear. Once it's very clearly like an older woman, the next it's a younger man. Currently, it's a rather androgynous looking 19 or 20-year-old. They're wearing a vest, slacks. They're not wearing a hat, but there's something very 20s in their appearance, and they are merely observing. I think they are currently sort of like balancing on a worn out lamppost on the top of it, looking down at a street.
And I think you are bearing with you a missive of some sort from the Spider Prince. And I think that there is just something off to you about this kind of like ruined expanse in which you have found yourself, this kind of like base of operations where you know your targets for this message are currently residing. As you are kind of like making your way towards them, I think there is just... Would you go ahead and make me a perception roll?
Yeah, for sure. Ooh, a 9.
Okay. There is something that you are kind of aware of as you are able to kind of disgorge and to kind of like, basically connect with these things that seem to move extra dimensionally through you, like you are a conduit for them. The thing you realize is there is something that has traversed its way through this area, very similar to how these things move through you. But it's bigger, and there's something that smells of darkness and hatred about it. At the same time, I will say that Spider Prince, you feel a tug at the back of your mind of one of your connections in danger, having basically kind of used your aggregate to reach out and to keep tabs on the people that you are kind of like worked with as part of your last operation. You know that they are in immediate danger.
Well, I hate that. What do I do? Let me look at the effects by spell level table, because that's how I make weaves. I want to see what's happening.
All right. Go ahead and spend the sorcery in order to, you are moving through an extra dimensional space in order to view what is happening, because you realize that what is happening is occurring in a noosphere, a pocket dimension, as it were.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so I would like you to go ahead and spend the sorcery that you need for that.
I'll find whatever that is. It's probably in the area of 5 or 6. Those, let's see.
Yeah.
So that would probably be I think it would be heart and the spider's web weaving together.
Excellent. And tell me what this looks like as you kind of like pull on the threads of the aggregate.
Like looking through a spider web as if it were a shattered screen of of your phone. Like that's what I can see of the space.
I will tell you this, the view that you have zooms past your vassal, past your messenger, past Slipping Jack, past who you recognize are Okras and Ethereal Bob, basically sitting at a table kind of like contemplating their next moves, past them into a tiny little artifact, a opulent looking manor house, and you zoom into that, and like the biggest zoom of any movie you've ever seen, you traverse these kind of winding paths and halls in this kind of Regency style manner, and you see Allegra, the backs of her clothing pressed against her as if a massive weight is pressed on it. She is bleeding from a wound to the back of her head profusely, but you don't see an assailant. You just see the indentation that it is leaving behind. And more to the point, you see a lithe, slight form moving just past your vision. You cannot get a good look at their face.
Okay, so I can only see what's going on here. Is there any way I could weave something that lets me affect this space?
I don't know, Weaver, you tell me.
Yeah, I would say just
I will tell you this.
Someone else's mind palace through scrying seems pretty tough.
I will tell you this, you know that your three companions or your former kind of allies are very near to this place. If you could move them, they would be able to traverse the distance much more quickly and easily than you could.
So it sounds like Slipping Jack is already performing a task for me.
Mm-hmm. Meant to deliver a message.
Yeah. I'm going to weave telepathy weave, which I've done a lot and is very cheap for me, to tell Slipping Jack double time. Something's wrong with Allegra.
Okay, excellent. At which point we are going to cut back to Allegra. Allegra, I have made a GM intrusion. I have given you a point of despair as this thing has not only attacked you, it is dealing 4 points of mental damage to you that will ignore armor. However, I will say that you have a moment where you are kind of having this semi-awareness. Give me a perception roll.
Sure.
Okay. With the 4, you realize that you are losing.
Sorry. I said sure. That was a 9 on the dice.
Okay. Perfect. In that case, you get the sense that there are footsteps behind you. You realize that whatever this thing is doing, it is devouring a memory. You have maybe fractions of a second to act before you can to try to shake it off of you.
Yeah. I am. So can I tell, do I have a sense of whether or not this is magical in nature? Or is this like a pure act of like melee or force?
With that 9, I will say that whatever is happening, it had to be magical to get past your defenses. It had to be able to traverse a kind of like a space very quickly, even warded. It would have to know where you are. So the other thing about this is it is very magical in nature, and it is also very forceful and attacking you.
Okay. But it is not a spell as far as I can tell. There's not a spell being cast.
No, you feel the weight of a massive creature like a big cat on the back, its claws digging into your shoulders.
Gotcha. So in that case, I think to protect the memory, I have a spell called Karko's Bound Thought. It is a gamma spell, level 6. I take a single secret fact or idea and put such potent wards around it that no divination or similar magic can get at it if I do not wish it so. I can only have one bound thought at a time. And I imagine that this is not something, I can't even probably tell what thought it is at this moment, but that's going to be the defensive action to shield and ward whatever it's trying to get at.
Okay. I am going to turn a card, and I'm going to give you the restrictions of what this can be. Okay. The card I just turned is Elusive Sleep. It augments blue, it weakens red. Visions of swans, blades, and water. Futility, worry, stress, and awareness. The richest noble cannot buy sleep. Elusive Sleep indicates one is racked with worry, or should be. It might indicate that the stress that one feels is a real detriment, and that whatever is being attempted is utterly futile. Last, this card turn might suggest that the key to success lies in vigilance. Someone is racked with worry. An NPC notices something important. An NPC's actions are futile. No one can sleep. I'm going to give you 3 options of what you pick. I am going to give you the option to remember your project, to remember Arwen, or to remember Nathaniel.
Oh. Wow. Okay. She protects her project.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Slipping Jack, you get the notice that you are to double time it to where to your objective as the strands of the web that links you and the spider prince twangs, and you get that missive. What do you do?
I immediately disperse into my little itty bitties and make my way immediately over to the physical base of operations. I know that Allegra is still in a dream space, which I can't infiltrate on a physical level, but I can get to where your physical body is. And I think I'm going to stay dispersed to sneak in, because I haven't properly introduced myself to any of you guys yet, although I do know everything about you. I'm gonna make my way. I don't think I can get to the entity that I felt, but I'm pretty sure I can at least get to Allegra.
Absolutely. Okay. In that case, yeah, I think you make it to the Mind Palace. Go ahead and give me stealth to see.
I'm great at that.
Are you trying to do this to get past Okras?
Yeah, I'm trying to get past every one of the last gas that could be hanging out at the hideout currently, just because they don't know who I am.
Cool.
So I do have a +2/2 stealth.
Mm-hmm.
11.
Okay. Yeah, easily enough. You find your self at like the precipice of this Mind Palace.
So how is this a physical thing? Because I'm not in a dream space.
It's a literal physical thing that is basically a gateway to a dream space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
In fact, it is a small model if you would like to find a way in.
Is this a dream space for ants? I mean, I'm still in said tiny form, so I can get all of my little critters inside the small space.
Okay. Excellent. As you are kind of like looking to do that, we're going to cut back to the Spider Prince. What are you doing? You have the sense that your message was transmitted.
I'm still watching, if anything, enhancing the signal, enhance. I'm watching. I'd like to whatever I can observe and learn in this by watching this. I want to try and learn.
Okay.
And witness.
Yeah. At this point, you realize that I think not far away from where Okras is, you seem to see an aperture in reality open, in much the same way that the enemy or the Erebast were able to move through, and you see a shimmer in the air. as something invisible moves past kind of your field of vision. Okras, I need you to make me a perception roll. You are muted.
I'll take a break from making dumb jokes. And that is a 4 total.
Okay. Go ahead. I will say this. You feel a set of needle-like claws rip into your back and latch them into your and latch 2 teeth into your head. You take 4 points of mental damage.
Ow. Can I do something about that?
You may certainly do that. What would you like to do?
I would like to immediately cast a spell.
Okay.
That spell being Thanatos Burst.
Okay.
Sorry to everybody else in the room. Hold on. I need to pull up my spreadsheet of how much damage that does. Stand by, please. Okay. Because this is OG Okras, so we've got 1, 2. Thanatos Burst.
You can just say obscene. An obscene amount. A ludicrous amount of damage.
Would you say I have a plethora of damage?
It's not that much. It's 10 damage.
Okay.
To everything in a short range.
All right. 10 damage.
So I unleash a deep resonant sonic wave that rolls like deafening thunder away from me. Although it can be heard for 1 mile or more, those within short range, except for me, suffer damage equal to this. And then there's a whole bunch of damage stacky bullshit.
At which point, awesome, because what ends up happening is the Thanatos Burst waves and ripples out as it manages to hit Ethereal Bob, who is immediately next to you, and kind of like blows her back out of surprise. But at the same time, it also rocks off the Mind Palace off of the kind of the side table where it's kind of situated rather a little bit farther from you. And Allegra, you feel your center of gravity shift as the Mind Palace upends. And as basically that happens, also Slipping Jack, you have found yourself having kind of like found your way in. You realize that now you are once again your same level of scale, as you seem to be in this antechamber or antehall of a massive mansion. That it seems to basically you are once again kind of dwarfed by all the structures around you. At the same time, you suddenly feel your legs tense against the wall as the structure seems to tumble off of the platform on which it was situated. Beyond your vision, you see this kind of like one of your targets, Allegra Von Hollingsworth, is seemingly kind of like being grappled, but at the same time suddenly kind of shifts and falls. Whatever kind of attached to her basically falling off. You see a young, slight man similarly grabbing the surroundings around him. He seems to be carrying a kind of like wand or kind of like a very elaborate looking kind of piece of magical weaponry in his hand. And he's grasping the sides for purchase. At which point, Allegra, we're going to go back to you. You see a young man as you kind of like shift and you find yourself on the ceiling, kind of looking up at one of the chandeliers, which still is hanging in the middle of the air. And you see this young man kind of like looking down at you from kind of like an elevated position. And he says, Allegra, you need to get out of here as quickly as you can. And he's holding for dear life.
I think she's just like, she's still reeling from, I think, whatever just happened. But I think she's shouting at the air, "No, come back and fight, you coward, thief! How dare you? You think you can infiltrate my mind? You think that I don't have defenses?"
And
it's only a mind wound.
Yeah, at this point, are you taking any actions? As at this point, you see this person, he seems to cast some sort of Vancian spell that you recognize, that gives him just like a cloud seems to kind of form over his eyes. And he seems to be trying to track something.
So I think what she will do is, as she's shouting these things, almost reflexively, she's using her forte ability, You Can't Kill an Idea, which is level 3. I call upon my collection of concepts and ideas to encase me in a literal brainstorm. While the storm rages, I gain +1 armor, and any enemy that touches or attacks me at close range suffers 3 mental damage. So you just start to see almost like a swirling wind kind of encase Allegra, and you can almost like see lightning flashing in it. She looks actually rather demented at the moment. Her hair like very, thrown out wildly, and she's like still standing tall and defiant.
Excellent. At which point, as soon as you do that, you see this kind of shimmer in the air that leaps directly into the brainstorm as if to once again kind of attack you. Go ahead and make me roll me the level of your spell +2 dice.
Perfect.
I also think Jack is making his way because they can hear this commotion.
Absolutely.
So that is 18 total.
18 total. Yeah. Okay. So what happens is this. Basically, whatever this thing is, the brainstorm intercepts it. And you see a splash of blood, purple in color, as it makes contact with your face. You look back and wipe your eyes, and you see a panther-like creature with 2 nasty, prolonged fangs out of the front of where it's kind of like its front teeth would be. Almost like these very long, elongated vampiric canines. And its eyes kind of sweep back into this kind of insectile pattern, and behind it are just these kind of like almost like these kind of contact like antennae that basically have at the back 2 of them these kind of like bulbs that seem to pulse with blue kind of garish light. You now have an idea of what the Pneumovore looks like.
Ooh.
And you know where it is. It seems to pace, kind of like looking at you, having its pounce intercepted like that. It is beginning to move around, waiting for its next chance to strike. Slipping Jack, you're up.
Yeah, I think still in my many forms, I'm gonna skedaddle into the actual chamber that you are currently residing in, Allegra, and am seeing all of this laid out, and I see the Pneumovore. I don't know if Slipping Jack knows what this is in particular. Their knowledge set is, I know, vast and strange. But I do think that they'll recombobulate themselves into that same androgynous 19, 20-year-old looking individual that I mentioned before, and just sort of takes a look around the state of this, and just like, I guess the prince wasn't lying. You seem to be in a spot of trouble, and is going to immediately move to try to contain this creature.
I will go ahead and kind of correct something. The one thing is you cannot see the Pneumovore.
I can't.
You only see a shimmer in the air, but what you do see is you see Allegra covered in blood wipe her face, and she seems to track something now.
If I see a shimmer, though,
you do see a shimmer.
that part is there. Then I'll move to attack where I see the movement that seems to be at odds with everything else.
Excellent.
And because I have never done something with this character before, I am going to. Yeah, I'm gonna cast Bleeding Darkness. I can't quite see where this creature is, but I have a rough idea of the area. So this is an area spell. And for those that don't remember, calling upon the forces of the dark, I conjure a small sphere of utter darkness at any spot I choose within long range. Should any living creature find themselves within the darkness, they are rent as if by claws and teeth, suffering damage each round equal to the spell's level.
Excellent. In that case, tell me how much damage that is going to be.
That is going to be actually 6 damage because I have an apostate skill that lets me inflict extra damage. Yay.
Do me a favor. Make me an accuracy roll to make sure that you hit with this. Your target is going to be, while it is cloaked, 8.
Okay. I will pump a Bene into that for sure. All right. 8.
Okay.
How does that sound?
It's what I asked for. All right. Describe what happens as it lights up this this kind of shimmer in the air. Or I say light, I mean darkens this shimmer in the air. What is?
Yeah,
what does the
I
spell
think
look like?
like this person appears. I think like Allegra, as you're wiping blood away, you just see an unknown individual suddenly standing in your mind palace who just snaps their finger, and this swirling mass of darkness just seemingly like spins from out of their hands into where the shimmer is, and just seems to like envelop it in like a tornado almost, but on a smaller scale.
Do you say anything as you do this?
From what I just said previously, it was just looks like you could use some help after all.
Excellent. Cool. We're gonna move back outside. Okras, you have just had this Tonitrus burst. You see something like shimmering in the middle of the air. That you see this kind of like leaking fluid coming out of it, as if from out of nowhere. It seems to be this viscous purple. What do you do?
Ooh, I think this is going to be, let's use something that I have never used before, that I had the whole time and I've never used. I'd like to move forward and slap this thing while casting the spell. Sorry, that's not the thing I haven't done before. While casting the spell Seventh Fire.
Okay. Describe what this does for me.
Violet flames dance across my limbs and grant me energy, which adds 3 Bene to my movement pool. However, during the round in which I created these flames, if I am touching anyone, they suffer fire damage equal to the spell's level.
Awesome. Okay. In that case, go ahead and make me a accuracy roll. Your target is 8.
Dope. I'm going to put a Bene into that. Actually, I'm going to put a Sortilege to that.
Okay.
Well, that was a waste of a Sortilege. I got an 8 on the regular dice and a 1 on the Sortilege dice.
Excellent. Okay, so as you kind of cast this spell, you're reaching out to touch it, right?
I'm reaching out to slap it.
Okay. As you do this, you see that whatever was bleeding profusely, its form alights with violet flame and shrieks. Essentially, and we're going to veil this, is just it burns to cinders in your vision. And whatever it is this leonine, almost like creature that like suddenly slumps to the ground.
It's only 9 damage.
You get the sense that when you hit it with the Tonitrous Burst, you hit it very hard.
Okay. I do have a Bene, or I have 3 additional movement Bene in my pool currently. I think Okras is then going to look to see, because I did kind of explode like a bomb.
Yeah.
In the middle of all my friends. Some sport.
I will tell you this. One of the structures that is load bearing has taken a significant amount of damage. Insofar as this structure, at least this section of it, looks like it's on the verge of falling. Ethereal Bob is picking herself up off the ground, looking at you, and just looks back and says, "I'll evacuate the others. Get the Vance." And just begins to kind of pick herself up with this gossamer clothing, just kind of like beginning to move and fly behind her as she picks up speed.
All right. I will, so I think Okras just kind of gives a firm nod and bolts for the stairs.
Excellent. And at that point, you're probably, maybe your next move, you will be able to get to the Mind Palace. Spider Prince, you are seeing all of this transpire, the web viewer kind of moving in time, moving in and out as needed, but at the same time, all of your focus, you see Allegra just kind of like in the middle of this brainstorm. You watch as your vassal basically helps kill this creature in the middle of her kind of workshop.
Okay, I think we would consider this action mode.
Yeah.
So my action is to refresh a pool. I think he is kind of thinking like, okay, like if this doesn't get a lot better real quick, I'm gonna have to do something. Yeah. So he refreshes his sorcery pool. Excellent.
So you do that for your action. The next thing, Allegra, this creature, whatever it is still kind of, I think that it is completely consumed by this massive darkness. It seems to no longer be a threat. You have no idea how many of these there are. The young man behind you, his face seems so familiar as he looks at you with this intensity, and he looks like he's about to say something. What do you do?
I think she's instantly like, we have to get out. And I think she bolts for the exit of the Mind Palace.
Excellent. Okay. So you begin moving. As you move, your eyes kind of like glance over and you see that your project in your workshop is safe. That said, you spot not far away, the body of a woman you could not tell you exactly who this person is, seemingly lifeless. It's all too quick. You have no idea how much time you're going to have before whatever transpires. Do you do anything as you pass?
I think she like notes this down. She, insofar as she could take a snapshot of this moment in her mind, she would, but she knows she does not have the time to study it or figure out what is going on. All she knows is she has to protect the work. She has protected the work, and now she needs to get this thing out of her Mind Palace.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing you notice is you are not carrying your grimoire. Last thing, in that case, actually, I will say this because you picked up, you picked that memory. Your grimoire, you know, is safe. Okay, so in that case, you are running past this other form, and Slip and Jack, you kind of like see this person that is assisting you in a way that is very reminiscent of your run-ins with the Spider Prince as you're kind of like running past.
I think Allegra takes a moment and just like locks eyes with Slip and Jack and goes, I don't know who you are, but you best follow.
Well, that's one way to say thank you, I guess.
I had it handled, but thank you for your assistance nonetheless.
You're very welcome, Allegra Von Hollingsworth. And Jack is going to follow you.
All right. At this point, I will say that you guys safely are able to exit, but as you exit, you just hear the young man call behind you, Allegra, I'll safeguard her. I promise. Just run while you can.
And I think Allegra looks blank, but keeps running.
And at that point, you manage to make your way out. Sophanox looks like he is flying directly behind you to keep pace with you as kind of like all of this transpires. What I will say that you guys exit, you manage to, all of you kind of like reconvene in the stairwell where you see Okras running up to catch up with you, Allegra. Okras, you see a completely strange figure you've never seen who seems to be assisting her. What do you guys do?
I think Okras like skids to his. Wait, where are we? Are we on the stairs? I'm trying to mentally place myself.
You are in it. I believe you were running up the stairs to kind of Allegra's kind of like private like area. At this point, this is kind of like where you guys join.
Okay. Yeah, so I think Okras kind of like skids to a stop, sledgehammer in one hand, and just kind of does a really quick up and down of this person who's with Allegra. That, do you do that? I hate that so much. Who's that?
I don't know. I was just attacked. I think who are you? Do you have something to do with this?
You can just call me Jack if it makes it any easier for you.
How did you get into my mind palace?
That part was pretty easy, but I'm actually here on behalf of a mutual friend. The Spider Prince. You're Allegra, and you must be Okras. Pleasure to actually make your acquaintance. I've been watching you for a while.
He thinks we need help. He thinks we need help after everything. He thinks we need help.
I don't think you need help. I said I'm here on behalf of your friend.
Him, the Spider Prince. He thinks we need help.
As you say this, we're going to shift over to Jack. Jack, once again, that feeling of something moving through space, through intradimensional space to your location strengthens as you realize that there's a lot more of these things where they came from. And we're going to quickly cut. Spider Prince, you are seeing this, but at the same time, you feel a tug on the web that you have drawn. This connection, the aggregate, once again, something big is coming. You have all of your sorcery. What do you do?
Was I able to get a look at the thing when I saw how Okras dispatched it?
I will say that you saw this kind of like shimmer in the air, and then you also saw its incineration fairly easily. It just depends on, like, I think that with this you can like kind of like divert your focus, pulling up these kind of like two images side by side.
I would like to attempt to identify that creature or identify its type so that I could ward against it.
Certainly. You may go ahead and make me a intellect roll.
Would that be a understanding, quantifying, or identifying magic that lies outside codified magical practices like spells, rituals, invocations, and the like?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Let's do that.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Very much so. That's a 9.
All
Not
right.
valid in Alaska or Hawaii.
Yeah. You know that this thing, whatever it is something that it is chimerical in nature, as if it has been created for a very specific purpose. This is kind of almost reminiscent of what you have seen the hate cysts do. So essentially, what happens at this point is you realize that it is exhibiting some qualities of some very particular kind of peculiar animals that occur in nature, but at a much grander, more vicious scale. Essentially, this thing eats memories, and it also has adaptive camouflage. Essentially, you get the sense that whatever those bulbous kind of like antennae are at the back of its stalks protruding from its head, that they are there to basically sniff out particularly juicy memories, whatever it is.
Okay. I'll
say, actually, you don't know that it eats memories.
Right.
Juicy prey.
First things first, I'm going to use my forte ability, which is Conflicting Tales. I vanish and reappear up to a very long distance away, which I think would take me to this place.
Okay. Yeah, easily.
And so that costs that. And I find Slipping Jack and say, quick, give him the things. Give him the things. And I look like I'm about to do another weave.
Okay. So what is it that you give them?
Yeah, what am I giving them?
They're a very crisp, like Patrick Bateman looking at a business card, like niceness, but a very crisp, immaculately colored Meet Me at Zero's business card.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring.
Something called bone.
For a moment.
I give those to you guys.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say a very crisp high five for a second.
That would be new Maurice. For sure.
I honestly think like Jack doesn't even really bat an eye at suddenly seeing you. He has just sort of a very inscrutable expression on their face. Again, it just sort of looks like every time they move that if anyone watches Adventure Time, Marceline's dad, those movements where it's like a little too reticulated.
Yeah.
Can I have a pitch for you?
Yeah.
You are very happy that my dog didn't come with me this time. That you do not get along with Legend at all.
I tend to not really handle animals like that. They don't like me and I don't like them. So we just keep a wide berth of each other. So thanks for not doing that. I know you probably wanted to, but
not listen.
I do. I hand out the cards, and then I think at that moment Jack does say, by the way, I think there might be an influx of whatever it is that's after you lot still coming back around for another pass.
As you say that, first off, light check. Red, yellow, green?
Oh, green.
Awesome.
Green.
Next thing. Yeah. Allegra, you are faced with this person that like represents like somebody who to you snatched victory from you. How are you handling this?
Yeah, I think Allegra's regarding the Spider Prince very coolly. We'll speak of the devil and he shall appear. What are you doing here? What do you want?
I'm speeding up a timeline.
For your own ends, I take it?
In the sense that I'm a part of everyone, as are you.
And we're just characters in your story.
Much more than a pawn.
That's what the author would say.
You are weaving something. What is it, Spider Prince?
It's a spell I saw Kieran perform, Nascent Midnight, and it is now suddenly midnight in a small area above the spot. And Maurice says, we don't have a lot of time. And he goes to the door and opens it and starts looking around outside for any sign of zeros.
Yeah. What does it look like as you call the demon bar to you.
Well, I don't. I think it just appears. I think it's he looks for a minute like he's like it should be here. I did it right.
And
then
yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, and then the neon.
Yeah, exactly. The light just bathes the left side of your cheek, which now is several eyes shorter than it used to be. And you look over and you see enumerated in neon, in pink neon, zeros. Do you guys go in?
Jack's already walking in.
Maurice is holding the door open and gesturing there and kind of breathing heavy and saying, "They're on their way. You don't have to come with me, but I suggest you don't stay here."
I think Allegra somewhat woozily follows you. She is bleeding from the back of the head still, I imagine.
I think Okras is going to fix that. Seeing this, I think Okras just kind of glares at the Spider Prince and just kind of does like a, "Not your time yet, but I'll be there and I'll have a party on your grave" kind of energy. And I'd like to use Infirmity of Flesh.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a wound and I'll give everybody in basically it'll wait, actually that gives armor. Oh shit, never mind. That's the twig thing I'm thinking of. Ignore everything I just said. I can't heal anybody.
Which one of my characters is my character?
God damn it.
All right.
Yeah, no, I can give you armor. I can't heal you. Please, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was gonna be helpful and shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. I think Allegra will take her mind palace with her though, and like clearly pocket that because it's like a little token thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And as you guys walk through the door of Zeros, we're going to take a break. Zeros is usually festooned with people. Demons, angels, creatures from all walks of the actuality come here for respite, for beverage, for company, for conversation, and none of them are here at this moment. Instead, at the bar, wiping it down dutifully, you recognize the manifestation of Zero, Iraz, the bartender inside of this demon bar. And they look at you. They say, "So, the usual?"
I feel like Jack probably frequents this Zeros a lot. It's a great place to get information. So they just go right on up to the bar and give a nod.
What drink appears in front of you after a little bit of labor on Iraz's part?
It's like a greenish drink, I'd say. Like it looks very green. A little bit thicker than I think most liquids. It's definitely how do I put this? It's sludgy insect blood.
Excellent. What do those?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pre-digested insects.
Excellent. I love it. And I think as you kind of slurp it down, Iraz kind of nods and then looks to the rest of you. Do any of you take on a drink, or you guys have other things on your mind?
Yeah, I think Okras stalks over to the bar and kind of turns so as to be able to side-eye the Spider Prince with great efficiency. But it is also kind of has one hand on the bar, indicating a desire for a drink.
And what drink appears and slides down the bar into your hand?
So a capital R red wine frosé with some sort of fancy smoke off-gassing of it.
Excellent. And yeah, it's just, I think it's very it's very kind of like striking as it's smoking while your gaze is kind of like traveling past it at the spider prince. What about the rest of you?
I think Allegra approaches the bar. Do you have a towel, preferably clean?
And at which point Roz kind of nods and just kind of like procures this. Even though it is over her over their shoulder, they produce it, and it is very immaculate. And as you move to wipe the blood from your face, you are struck by a memory that you recognize is not your own. Your lifeblood is running out from your throat, down your arm, to your hands. You had thought that all the work you'd put into the changeries to the wards would have safeguarded you. And you know that you can win any kind of fight. You are, after all, adored by the sea. What's any kind of opposition to a lightning bolt? You fought worse in the war. But even so, as blood and salt water issue forth from your open wounds, and something hidden stalks past you, shimmering in the air, its form unknown to you, you see another man just walking past, looking down. And you see a man who is lean, who looks hungrily down at you and yet dismissively, but also ruefully. A man with sharp features who says, "It's a pity I couldn't change your mind. I'm going to have to work on that, aren't I?" And you see whatever this shimmer is in the air travel past his shin, past this immaculately tailored black suit, and he pets it. This kind of form that's, you hear the pat of a gloved hand on flesh. And Allegra, you recognize the face. Actually, no, you don't recognize them. But you know for a fact that this is a Vespertine agent. And all of a sudden you find yourself back in your consciousness as you have the blood wiped from the towel in your hand.
Allegra sinks into a stool at the bar. Ugh. The Pneumovores, did they leave traces? I wonder. I just experienced a memory. It wasn't mine.
Maurice has grabbed the beverage in front of him, which is a glass of water, and walks over to Allegra and sets it down and says, reaches for the towel and says, "May I?"
Please.
Grabs the towel, wets it a bit, and begins to tend to the wound at the back of her head. And like stitches acting on their own, I heal the... You took a wound, is that correct?
I took 4 points of mental damage, but there's also like a gaping wound on the back of my head, I believe.
So that, which translates into 1 anguish, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, I believe I can do that with this weave. I have the blood aggregate and the heart aggregate.
Excellent. So, as you are attending to her, that is when you hear Roz kind of pipe up from the bar. So, glad you all have a drink, but I was also asked to deliver a message to you from somebody I think you know. And they slide a little envelope forward.
Spider Prince reaches for it.
I think you are in contest with Jack on that one because he almost wants to grab it too.
Oh, Okras is absolutely not letting the Spider Prince have anything.
I would say it's a two-way contest between Slipping Jack and Okras.
Yeah, especially if Spider Prince is attending Allegra's wounds.
What is this roll?
This is movement.
Be cool with PvP, Marcy.
Yeah, always. I'll pump a Benny into that.
Okay.
Sortilege. Oh, I'm guessing you have that. It's not great. It's only
I rolled an 8.
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
As fast as like little praying mantis hands go, it's just like an instant like movement.
I think.
And he like slams a hand down, pulls back.
Yeah, I think like by the time it's back, like Okras's hand slams into the bar, like pretty with significant force.
And at which point, I think you just hear Roz say, "Gently now."
I think you hear a bit of venom in the Spider Prince's voice directed at Slipping Jack, and says, "How kind of you to read a message not addressed to you."
It sounded like it was a message for all of us here.
Just remember that I invited you.
Oh, don't worry. I haven't forgotten that. But let's also not forget that you invited me for a reason.
Speaking of invitations, who invited you? Okras says, speaking very pointedly to the Spider Prince.
He nods at the envelope and says, "Maybe we'll find out."
Slim Jack now very exaggeratingly is going to like take their time in opening it and is making direct uncomfortable eye contact with all of you. Seemingly, yes, eye contact with all of you without moving their head. It's not, you have no idea how this is really working.
Yeah,
thanks. I hate it.
It's like the Mona Lisa on steroids.
Yeah, and we'll read this message out to everyone in the spirit of cooperation.
As you reach into the envelope, you realize it is not a written missive. It's 4 strips of cloth.
Oh, hello.
That are very elaborately designed. One of which has this kind of like elaborate web pattern. And I think that you realize that these are just kind of like design flourishes that I kind of think are almost like out of the reflex of the hands of a craftsman. But there are 4, what you realize are blindfolds in your hand.
Does Jack have any indication about what this could represent at all?
I think as you kind of pull them out, there is a note scribbled on a very kind of like a very, I say scribbled, but it's still kind of calligraphically very elaborate, and it just says, "Wear me."
Kinky. You have strange friends.
The Spider Prince walks up and grabs the one with webs on it, looks at the other 2 and points to Allegra and says, "That one's yours."
I think the one that is bound for Allegra, there are these very kind of beautiful, almost Rococo-esque motifs. There's a great deal of effort kind of poured into them. And you do recognize the craftsmanship of an associate of yours.
Interesting. done playing games. Someone stole things that belong to me. I intend to get to the bottom of it. And I think she moves to put her blindfold on.
And there are 2 remaining. One, which seems to have these almost like wind-like patterns, and these different kind of like very florid displays of kind of things in flight. And I think, Okras, you realize that blindfold was originally intended for Ethereal Bob. There is,
Interesting.
however, one final blindfold that is festooned with clocks, all bearing a 13th hour. All of them shattering into pieces.
I think Okras will reach out and just kind of just hold it for a second and slam back this drink. I think we see a little bit of smoke leak out of the one of the little pinprick holes in their face that's not covered by the mask.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And finally, that leaves the other blindfold for you, Jack, if you wanted.
Oh, might as well put on this little number. And he's going to tie it around their face.
As you pull it up, you see the Spider Prince, who is no longer wearing the finery of the uniform that you saw him, and no longer wearing the confidence either that he was before. His clean-shaven face now showing about a week's worth of stubble. And his suit is kind of meant to blend in and not stand out from other professional gentlemen. And as Slipping Jack puts the blindfold over, says, "In for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. Let's do this."
Excellent. As all of you put on the blindfolds, you find yourselves as if you hadn't covered your eyes at all, but you're standing in a very different place. A very small and enclosed space, which you recognize is a small workshop. It is festooned with all of these different kind of like material components and pieces of things that all kind of like, you know, basically span what you realize, and a number of tools, as well as, you know, seamsters tools and tailoring implements. And you realize that you are in the workshop of Kieran Von Melas. And staring at all of you, sitting down, and yet making eye contact with each of you as if he is speaking directly to you. Well, I'm glad I could get you all together to at least do one thing together, even if the news I have to impart is distressing. So, we all understand now that there is no way to win the war. At least not now. Which compels me to say that perhaps our associate, the Spider Prince, there may have been some credence to what he's told us. I guess I should say you told us so, but I wouldn't want to give you the satisfaction. And he seems to look pointedly at you as he says, there is something hunting me. I feel like it is the vanguard of a much larger force. Something that seems to be hunting heroes of the war, people that fought against the Arabast and against the Vespertine and whatever other sordid forces were assembled against us. I think that they have been engineered in a very artful way, I have to admit, to find us, to consume us. And something bigger is coming. The people who are smart enough not to leave their houses at night. Something's coming for all of the actuality. Powerful spell. I don't know what it will do, but I suspect that no one's memories of this will be safe. Which is to say, the enemy's victory will be complete and total if we do nothing. Master, Messrs. Okras and Twig. Yes, I know of both of you. I think there's only one thing we can do in preparation for this, which is to safeguard whatever we've managed to survive with, whatever memories might be available. The seeds of truth are scattered, yes. One in a place no one dares to tread, I imagine. Another, well, I haven't heard of what has befallen others of our compatriots, but I know that Zaleska is safe someplace. She has, with my help, devised something that should safeguard it and wait for the right people to find it again. I don't think I have much time left to steal. I've kept you in this moment long enough. But I'll be back one day sooner rather than later. And I'll find some way, something to, some sort of resistance, some sort of pocket or cell, and we can strategize again. But we have to safeguard what we have. Do you understand me, Messrs. Okras and Twig? The fate of this rebellion relies on it. I'll see you all soon. Sorry.
Is this, can I talk to this person or no?
You can certainly try.
Okay. Yeah, I think Okras is just going to hold up a hand and see if there's any reaction to that.
You feel that second heart inside of your chest tug and pull.
Sounds painful.
Like, I think it's just almost like, kind of like, it's almost like a bad case of indigestion.
Intriguing. I hate that. So there's no, but we don't get any response from Kieran.
What are you asking them?
I'm seeing if he can if this is a message or as if this is an actual interactable, this is a communication or a message.
Okay. I think there's a moment where it seems like there's almost like a time skip, and it says, you hear Kieran just say, "I'm afraid my abilities are limited in this moment. I'm literally stealing moments from time. I'm not sure if I can answer anything of meaningful importance. I'm just telling you what I know." I have set a rendezvous in the ruined expanse for a time which I think should be tomorrow morning, dawn. An old friend of ours has come to help us once more, or at least she contacted me as such. Perhaps she just wants to know what has become of her family. But I've set something of a dead drop. A place in the ruined expanse with which, if you need a place to hide anything, memories, objects of importance, artifacts, whatever you can find, whatever you could need, I have allocated a considerable number of resources to make that available to you or to whoever would need it. To leave the ruins better than where we found them, perhaps. For whoever is going to meet the task. I'll be back. Don't despair. But it's all up to you now. And he puts on these goggles that you've seen him wear so often. And you watch, mercifully, time is cut short, but you watch the rime form around his face. And he exhales and touches something on the side of this visor of this pair of spectacles. And the rime begins to expand and to grow more and thicker and more. Realize that Kieran is freezing himself to death. But before that process can complete, blindfolds become blindfolds. And you find yourselves all standing in zeros.
Boy, you lot are more desperate than even I thought.
I think the Spider Prince was the first to take off his blindfold, so all of you see his very pale face and eyes wide in surprise.
Too little information, too late.
I think the blindfold just kind of crumbles off of Okras. It is a fool's errand to try to preserve what is already gone.
You feel that tug in your chest, that heartburn. It gets more severe.
I think Okras rolls their eyes a little bit. And very deliberately ignores the heartburn. The not so metaphorical pain in my ass, I guess pain in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice takes a long sip of what's left of the glass of water and looks at Okras and says, "Who's Twig?"
Wouldn't you like to know?
I'd also like to know.
Kieran knew. Did you understand what he was saying?
Is that something that Okras understood, Zach? Because I as a player do not understand.
He was very specifically referencing your abilities or Twig's abilities as a logivore.
Well, it's really the body's problem, but I understood what he wants. That does not mean that I agree with his choice of paths to take.
Let me tell you what I know, what I did. I bought us time. I didn't have a plan, but I knew, and he looks pointedly at Okras, I knew that it wasn't the end. I think that Kieran, well, I think they've got some sort of plan. Think about it. He killed himself. The man that can fix mistakes endlessly chose to die and gave us instructions to Twig I think this is the best shot that we have.
I don't know how much like your father you are, or the rest of your ilk, but even you should know that death is not the end.
Exactly. Kieran's got a plan.
Always another plan. Always someone else's plan. Isn't that right, Spider Prince?
I would love suggestions. Do you have any?
My suggestion would have been to win the war in the first place. I had it. You took it. And I still don't understand why. And now we are sitting here in the face of a zero-sum game. And the only way to win is to lose.
Spider Prince looks at Eros and says, no offense. And if it looks back to Allegra and says, you're actually really close to what I saw. We've got time to talk about it now. Would you believe me if I told you?
Try me. You certainly didn't explain when you took it from us.
He looks to Okras and says, you wanted to know how much like my father I am? I shed that skin. That's what it cost me to do that. And truth be told, I didn't really have full control over what I was doing. But I saw, Allegra, I saw the end of the war. I saw the death of the Guardian. And I knew that it would end right then, right there, if I didn't rewrite the story to the extent that I could. I have to live with the consequences of that. Everybody does. But it's better than the goddamn void.
I was winning. We were winning.
You were. But the battle was not the war.
We couldn't have won it. We couldn't have won the war. Is that what you're saying?
If I let things play out the way they did, we wouldn't be here.
And so what? Now you say... Now Kieran says we all must lose our memory. Because that's what it sounded like to me, that we all must lose our memory in order for some future to win.
That actually makes sense. I would have thought that
you lot would have been all about the last desperate action. Don't you want something? Anything? Why push back against the void if you were just going to sit here and argue about how to waste your remaining hours? Because, oh yes, you're all still being hunted. Now, for my part, I don't have to do anything. I could just sit back and watch. I don't mind. But I think that you care. And quite frankly, I'd rather have some business than none.
My contract was not to follow your orders. My contract was to win a war.
War's over. You're a freelancer now.
I'm still alive.
But that's exactly the war is not over. That's what I stopped. And Allegra, I don't think I can convince you. But maybe you can continue to believe that I was wrong and then win this war.
Oh, Spider Prince, You are not incorrect insofar as the war is not materially over, not in the way that it could be. And because of this situation that you have created, the only way out is through.
For better or for worse.
Do your friends normally hate you?
I don't normally have friends.
Well, that tracks. Jack has just been sitting, drinking while watching all of this, just intensely focused. Although I will do one thing, though. Like, I think in the midst of that argument, retroactively, I will say that Jack at some point, like, coughed into his sleeve and ejected a small creature that I'm now calling the Agent as part of my Forte ability, and I am sending this beastie to be my eyes and ears outside. I'm sending them out of the bar I can send them as far afield as I wish to, and to keep information specifically, I can have them. They are a level 5 creature. They move quickly. They have wings. It does as I command, and it is intelligent. It can travel any distance away from me to perform any task. So right now I'm having it be my eyes and ears on whatever little beasties are hunting the Spider Prince and his companions.
I think that as this beastie kind of like flies around and performs kind of like a perimeter, or kind of enacts a perimeter rather, you notice that there are more of those shimmers in the air. They all seem to have moved away from zeros, as if there is some quality of the bar that kind of keeps these things out and away. But you see every so often, they just seem to prowl the streets of Satyrine through the ruined the one thing you will notice, however, is that they tend to stay away from the ruined expanse for whatever reason. A lot of them are just kind of like, scattered throughout what remained of Upper Taverswood, more towards kind of like the remains of Lower Taverswood, where it kind of like becomes the rest of the district proper. And then on top of that, you kind of like, as you get further out and fly up, you just start seeing these things dotted from a bird's eye view throughout the streets.
You've got a lot of incoming new friends. They're everywhere.
Spider Prince looks to Allegra and says, "So let's talk plans. We've got a shot." He looks to Okras and says, "So, do you need a new contract? What's your price?"
Okras just laughs a little bit, very clearly at you. Like I said, my contract is still active. Death is not the end.
The void is. Can I count on you? Are you in?
I'm in, but you absolutely cannot count on me.
With this, the Spider Prince rolls his eyes.
Can I
Yeah, please do.
monologue for a second? I'd like to take a monologue token, please.
You may absolutely take a monologue token.
No, I think Okras just kind of grabs another drink that has appeared. I think Roz is very good at their jobs, and I think kind of tosses some of that back, and we see more of this smoke curling up past their smirk. Thank you. As they look at the Spider Prince, and then also I think kind of more very aggressively at the Spider Prince, kind of more like not beseechingly, but I think more respectfully at Allegra, and then finally skeptically at Slipping Jack. God, I hate that so much. The plan involving my associate, Twig. I don't think you or Kieran are prepared for what that means.
Does it mean our memories? That's what you said, right, Allegra? The creatures were affecting our memories?
Yes. That's what they take.
They've always been better than I have with the mind magics and the memories. But they don't play by the rules that I play by. And they cannot be trusted. And you can trust me on that. I've had a very, very long time to discover that.
What are they?
I think Okras looks reluctant to tell you anything. If you want to, I would say, like, if you want more information, that's probably going to be a roll. I'm going to invite some people. Come at me, bro.
All right. Bro has been come at.
Though
Roll.
also,
Yeah.
that is not exclusive to Bill. If other people want to roll too, I'm not.
Yeah, feel free to roll interaction, or would you say intellect? What is the bar you are setting?
I would say interaction, or interaction or intellect. Honestly, either one. I think it's more about Okras is between a rock and a hard place.
I'll do an interaction. I'll spend 3 on that.
Wow, fuck you.
It's an 8.
Like I said, they're an associate of mine. They're why I took the contract with Naheron in the first place. But you can't trust them.
Why?
Because you'll ask for a drop of water to quench a fire, and you'll get a torrent that will wipe away a continent.
Are you saying they're an architect? They build things.
In the same way that a virus builds things.
We have a lot of building to do here. There's a lot that's been lost.
Well, maybe it's the only road forward, but I suspect that if you live to see it, you will live to regret it.
You know what you can't do in the void? Regret anything. I think the best place to hide is probably the gray. I can't think of any better strategy than the ones that have already gone. But the memories... Can Twig do what needs to be done? What will Twig leave behind?
That's a Zach question.
That is up to you to say.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Lean into it. What you got?
Expect the worst. Plan for the worst. Take everything, leave nothing. we're not too dissimilar in that way.
Maurice has reached out to the bar and whispers something to Iraz and gets a drink that is the saltiness of tears, but all manner of tears. Tears of joy, tears of regret, tears of fear, and just kind of slowly sloshing that around.
I think as all of you kind of consider this, and at some point you hear in Iraz's voice in your mind, Okras, now is not the time. Sometime in the future, I owe you a conversation.
I think Okras grabs the drink, kind of turns, just makes eye contact with one eye and gives a tiny nod of acknowledgement.
Rounds are on the house tonight. You're happy. I'm happy to have you stay here for as long as you need to, but I understand last call for you is going to be dawn? Is that right?
Think so.
Well, in that case...
I guess the council's money is no longer good here, huh?
I take many forms of legal tender. Besides, money doesn't spend here. Not when I have the credit of the heroes of the war, be that as it may.
Allegra, you've been quiet, which is usually good, right? Means you've got a great idea.
As you say, Okras, this twig can take our memories. I know what it's like to lose them. And I don't want it to happen again. I can protect a few with magic I have, but it's not indefinite. And if this thing has eternal patience, well, and if it outnumbers us in quantity, there's only so long we can hold it off.
Oh, trust me, you are very outnumbered.
What do you know, Slipping Jack? You seem to know quite a bit.
It depends. What are you asking? Do you have the money to pay for my information? I don't work for free.
I have a move I'd like to propose.
Okay.
Which is, you feel every part of you, Slipping Jack, clench with the authority that only the Spider Prince can wield.
But since I'm here as a guest of His Majesty, I suppose I could give you a few freebies. Don't push your luck, sire. You aren't the only one I answer to in this family.
Slipping Jack is here at my behest. He works for my father, which means that they also work for me.
And I see all and know all that happens in this city. So...
I really can't wait to forget you.
Wasn't your whole plan to eventually remember me? So I try to not be very offended by that. I'm sure I'll find a way to keep busy when I'm unchecked. Although I do have to admit, I do like your friends. Especially you. And he points over at you, Okras. I know what it's like to have many things in one body. It gets a little crowded, doesn't it?
I think Okras gives you a devastatingly threatening on anybody else glare. And
Oh yes,
that
I think I'm going to enjoy watching you misremember things when you come back. So, Allegra Von Hollingsworth, what can I do for you?
The scope of the threat. How big it is. Who's posing it? Do you have names?
If you want that kind of information, well, you have to give me a moment. And I think, I don't know if Jack knows who's behind it any more than you do, which is to say, it's the Vesper team. Mm-hmm. We all know that. Everybody at this table knows that. But if he does know some side information, Zach, you tell me what I can relay, and I'll roll for it happily.
Okay.
In fact, actually, no, I still have enough sorcery to do this. I'm gonna disgorge another little creature onto like the bar top. And this is my counselor. So it gives me advice and information and gives me a boost of 2 bene to my interaction as well as my intellect pool. So I sort of cough that up. And for a brief second, there are multiple eyes over my face before like I do a weird, slow, like undulation blink of all of them. And whatever information my little counselor has given me, I now have. So you tell me essentially what that is after, if I need to make a roll or anything like that.
I don't even want to make you roll. Okay. As this voice kind of whispers in your ear, that collective intelligence of a swarm reaches you, and you see in your mind a great and terrible colossus in the center of the Marquis district. Its form ever shifting and illusory. Its terribleness astonishing to behold. Where once something was pure, it has been corrupted and darkened and deepened in its depravity by the Vespertine, by these nihilistic forces. And you realize to even this tiny thing what is immediately apparent, which is that you are facing an engine of war that it is, in this case, a repurposed Sun Warden.
Yeah, I think Jack gets that information and just sort of nods their head a little bit and it's just like, there's something big. A Sun Warden of some sort in the middle of the Marquis district. I bet your friends are doing something stupid with it. See, His Majesty is right. There's not a lot you can do with the void. And we've seen the void. And your friends, the Vespertine, think they understand it, but they don't really know what they're doing. So, I'll probably be fine one way or the other, but I'd prefer to very much stay on this side of the abyss. But I think it'd be really fun if you push your friends into it. So if that's what you're going to do at some point, I'll help you out. It's not like I've got much business coming my way, what with the war still petering on. So do you want to handle this problem before they unleash whatever mechanics they've got going on? Or do you want to still argue with our friend?
You know, I've never beat a Sun Warden before. I think it's high time.
But heart. Sorry, my soul was saying the same thing. And I think you see Okras just kind of look over, and like there is an actual look of camaraderie there. Just like, yeah, that's the energy. Unstoppable force.
Well,
Iraz, do you have a pen?
And a very nice fountain pen appears in your hand.
Spider Prince is no longer paying attention to any of you, and he's jotting down words, and he keeps writing a word over and over again and thinking and spelling it differently. Hendasa, Hendessa, and just chewing on the pen.
And ducking. Sorry.
the hen.
So, and Iraz Iraz speaks up to all of you. So, enjoy your last rounds. I'll open a door for you when we open once again to the public, and take you where you need to be. Sound good?
Thank you, friend.
Much obliged.
I think I think Okras is going to put the sledge on the bar.
Okay.
I think Allegra will also grab for a bar napkin and grab a pen out of her pocket and start scribbling.
Okay. Flipping Jack, do you have anything left that you want to do?
No, I mean, I'm sort of taking direction from everyone here.
I was going to say,
I'm just your friendly little helper.
Spider Prince looks at you again, and this is the look that, like, the vibe I have is like, you watched me grow up, I think, and so
you don't have any concept of how old this amalgamation is.
So there's this like you see in you the look of the Spider Prince who thought you were a good way to stir up trouble, and he says, "Can you say that again? I'm gonna enjoy watching you misremember things when you come back."
That's your plan, isn't it? You're gonna come back?
No, this is good. This is good.
Yeah, I think you get the vague notion, and you can tell me if I'm stepping way off base here, Zach, that when Slip and Jack mentioned that they've seen the Void, it's entirely likely that they have been around since the Void became something else.
You know, yeah.
That's just my friend Slipping Jack. He says weird things sometimes.
Yeah, no, I would say
he's older than God.
I would say that that's apropos. Okay. Yeah. And just so I don't lose it, is there anything that you want to do with that note, Allegra, in particular?
I think so. I think on one napkin, she is like writing battle plan, battle strategy. But I think on a different napkin, she has sketched out that scene from her workshop that she remembers with the strange man and the girl on the floor. And she thinks There was a man in my mind. His face, where have I seen it? His eyes, the way they wrinkle at the corners, the urgency there, the worry. For me? No. Whoever he was, he failed. He allowed that thing into my mind. How could it have gotten past him if he cared? And the girl on the floor, she looked so cold, so alone. She's important, but how? And I think some of these questions are annotated in the margins on the napkin, like, but how, next to basically the scene exactly as she remembers it.
As we make our dawn appointment, is there any information that Allegra has imparted to us about strategy, plan, maybe what we think we might want to expect here? I think Spider Prince has very much yielded the floor to the Rook.
I think Allegra's gambit very much is to get our memories out of our minds as quickly as possible, and then to safeguard our corporeal forms once that has been achieved. So kind of basically to do as much damage as we possibly can without risking ourselves. So it's kind of that, right? Like, how much can we give before we are ourselves annihilated? Like, she knows for this long gambit to work, we have to preserve our corporeal forms somehow. And yet we have to be enough in the fray to make a difference and also to preserve these aspects of ourselves, both corporeal and mind. And so I think, I think maybe she will at some point talk to Okras about sort of, okay, like, Twig cannot be trusted, but Twig is essential to this plan as I have created it. They are a variable in the situation, but they are a variable you've told us, like, can't be controlled. So I think that's sort of where Allegra's headspace is. I think in the night, though, Allegra will return to her mind palace, and she will be working on something. That's all. You get the impression she's doing something, building something that could help.
Excellent. So, with this information, let me ask you, Okras, do you trigger the shift? How does this work?
I think narratively, because we're on the time crunch, I would say Okras would wait to trigger the shift until after we fight the Sun Warden. And if we're gonna fight the Sun Warden, I'm gonna
be very honest with you. That is not something that we should do. You should do.
Okay.
That's what we do when we come back.
Exactly.
All right. So I think Okras has finished the last drink, and they've left their sledge, their kindled, enchanted, fuck off war sledge that at this point, like, even just from what you guys have seen, has just laid waste to an untold amount of material and lives. Left that on the bar. And the implication is that it's kind of not a tip per se, but a gift. And kind of looks around at everybody. Last chance to avoid making a terrible mistake.
Polite of you to ask. Thanks. But I'm ready.
Well, this is probably going to be goodbye for now. Or maybe forever.
There's a chance at victory. We take it.
Victory is just forestalling the inevitable. Don't forget that. And I think Okras just kind of leans back and like rests their hands against the bar, or rather stands back and leans against the bar with their hands resting on it, and is just gonna kind of reach deep down inside and mentally give that other heart that's been so irksome a little mental kick.
You all see the form of Okras shift. The hair color, I will say the hair under the armor, you can't see it, but you do see the scarred tissue in the exposed areas kind of almost just kind of smooth and disappear, and like an intake of breath. We find, oh, who do we find?
We find a twig. And I think there's kind of a flexy back cracking shoulder. Ooh, all the bits are in the right places kind of energy. And then you guys see a head turn and look at all of you. You see the shift to the different eyes. There's a very different set of eyes looking out at you. These pinkish red at first, and then you realize that there's still fire burning in there too. Behind that fire, there's so many thorns, and it just goes on and on. And I think Twig flashes you guys a smile. All right then.
So, I'm going to go ahead for the sake of time and narrate how the rest of this goes. The door to Zero's opens on a gray day in the middle of the ruined expanse, not very far from Upper Tavers Wood, but far enough that you have enough privacy and secrecy in what you are trying to accomplish. Waiting for you there, for this rendezvous, is a manifestation of Shia Kazan, who waits and discusses with you plan going forward, who takes your assurances, Spider Prince, that her daughter is safe, though she knows that she will never see her, not so long as the Pathwalkers maintain the protection of the unknowable angel. But in her heart lingers the hope she will see her daughter again one day soon. She opens the door to the gray as Twig, you systematically take the memories of those who formed the best of soldiers of the war, the heroes of Satyrine.
Can I put in one move real quick?
Always.
Legend is psychically bonded with me and knows where I am at all times and meets me at this place. And all you see is the Spider Prince get down on his knees, whisper something to the dog, take his testament of sons, and as he shoves it into the dog disappears.
As each of you systematically give your memories to this cause, Flipping Jack, you remain a little bit behind. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't part of the contract. And as you watch on and safeguard these people from afar, you hear the voice of one patron, the Spider Prince's father, say, "Now, bring me the seed of truth I heard that they were discussing. I'd like to speak to my son, if even a while later." And not very long after, you hear an older, warmer, matronly voice say, "Well, do as he says. But remember who you really serve." And that is where we fade out.
What I love about this show is how there's always just questions being constantly answered, and knowledge just getting clearer and clearer all the time. That's what I love about this show.
So,
But
yeah, go ahead.
nothing.
So, at this point, guys, we're gonna very quickly, because we're running over time, we're gonna do some shout outs and plugs. Marcy, if you want to do some shout outs and plugs real quick.
That's me. Hi. I've been Marcy, aka Experimental Madness. Again, that's the username you can find me most places around the internet. I remain the resident cryptid, just like I was playing today. That was a lot of fun. I would happily play Jack any other time. What a cool dude. Definitely definitely worthy of your trust. Yeah, shout outs. Well, Manapots is certainly busy over the next few days. If you're not completely sick of either myself or Hopper, well, then tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Because we will be going on our continuing adventures in Gotham for our 5th episode of Streets of Gotham. Yeah, it's fine. Our characters have ended up in the Supermax facility in Arkham, so don't even worry about it. And then on Tuesday, Flights of Fandom will be back with another Star Trek adventure, and I'm sure that one is going to be great. We're still doing that for the rest of the month of August every Tuesday. And that's about all I've got on the docket. So yeah, lots of stuff happening. Keep watching this channel.
Bill, shout outs and plugs.
I would like to shout out my cast. What a fun episode this was. Shout out to the DM, Zach. Thank you very much. This was stupid fun. I would like to plug the Legend Tree, which is the vehicle of our own dear Hopper. Go to twitch.tv/the_legend_tree. Give that a follow and subscribe and all that good stuff. We're doing a show called Dark Visions, where we took a home game and put it online. And what I love about that game is that every episode could be the last one because Hopper is trying to kill us. So won't you see how that goes? We usually play on Thursdays once a month, so check out that. And yeah, that's where I'll stop.
Awesome. Hopper, you're up.
I'm trying to kill their characters too. No. What's up? I have been and regrettably will continue to be Hopper. And like Bill said, that you can find a lot of my other work on the Legend Tree, and by a lot of my other work, I mean the one show that we're doing so I can learn how to produce. And boy, fuck, it's hard. So shout out to Zach for running and also producing this, and shout out to Marcy for exemplifying the worst character. Like, yikes, dude. No, other than that, yeah, like Manapot, I guess shout out to Jeff Stormer, Party One podcast. Just all around gem of a human being. Would probably smush a state-sized amount of people in his defense. Like, he deserves all the love, and I don't know. Like, he deserves a supervillain that loves him as much as we do. That I think that's my roundabout way of getting to that. It's me. I'm the supervillain. But other than that, yeah, no. I miss playing with you guys. So I'm October.
100% not surprised at the supervillain. Also, just grateful we haven't died in the wake of your wave of destruction.
Thank you.
So
I'm a kind of benevolent overlord.
Marissa, shout outs and plugs.
Yeah, hi, I've been Marissa, Critical Kitten, most places on the internet. We'll keep this fairly short and sweet. I would like to plug on this channel, between now and our return on October 9th, we are hopefully going to do a few side scenes, which is not a mechanic we've engaged in a ton in this game so far, but we are looking forward to engaging in a little more. So stay tuned to social media, etc., for announcements about that. And then if you haven't been watching the new season on Dimension 20, A Court of Fae and Flowers, then you should, because it merges D&D with Good Society. And it's been great to see a game that is near and dear to my heart breaking out into the mainstream in a very hybridized sort of way. It's a delightful series, so check it out if you haven't.
Awesome. Last for me is going to shout out Angel Citadel. Apparently, Josh and Joanne are going to start doing a Starforged actual play, which I am super about. That's super cool. Next thing I'm going to shout out is Encounter Party. Encounter Party, huge fan of Ned Donovan and Andrew Krug and everybody who is on that fantastic show. You guys should check it out. I know they're eventually going to work on another campaign, but in the meantime, you should check all the stuff that they're doing set in Ravnica using D&D 5e. Otherwise, guys, thanks so much for joining us for this really kind of breakneck one-shot. This actually ties up in a bow a lot of the stuff that was flashed back to in previous seasons. And so shout out to my cast for playing right into my hands, which is to say helping me retcon all the shit that we've done thus far. But in the meantime, guys, I'm so grateful that you guys get a chance to check us out and to sit and enjoy this with us, this really great game that we love to play, and we love playing with the game with each other, which is fantastic. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of the people that you love, and may the invisible sun shine on you all. Take care. Have a good night.